Years ago, I heard that when you're happy, you hear the music, but when you're sad, you hear the words. This week, I'm extremely thankful for music and songs and wanted to share with you a story, but one song in particular got me through a very difficult moment. And that saying that I mentioned just a moment ago at the start of the video, although I found that very true at the time that I heard it, because I was going through a challenging time in my life, I think I can take that a step further now that I've had a few more years under my belt and have a little bit more wisdom, hopefully. I think it boils down to that we essentially hear the songs when we need to hear them, whether it's a rhythm, a melody, or maybe even just one line in the song. That's the beauty of music, and it just captures us when it's supposed to and moves us in some sort of way. But anyway, I progress. Year before last, I was at my annual physical, and doctor gave me the great news. They lowered the age for colonoscopies from 50 to 45, and now I'm not quite sure why she even mentioned it to me, given how young I am. But lo and behold, I had to take one. It was a little bit overdue, based on that recent change. And although I did put it off for a few weeks, maybe a couple months, the prep was so worth it, and it was just a fantastic experience. I recommend it to anyone. Not. But Nora and I had our daughter on the way, and I figured maybe might as well check it out, and hopefully can stick around for a few more decades and be a part of Mason's life here. But in order to tell you the rest of the story, I need to go back a little bit. We can go back a few years, maybe a few decades. It's when I was 12 years old, and I had an operation. I got put under anesthesia, and I was so nervous going into it because let's say I was a little high strung when I was younger, but not the case now, of course. And I was so nervous going into the operation, I ended up aspirating, which is also known as throwing up, and immediately had double pneumonia. Brief procedure turned into a 3-hour emergency ordeal, having double pneumonia and freaking my parents out. Ended up having to stay overnight, and certainly never been a huge fan of hospitals, but those are stories for another day. But it wasn't so much the fact that I almost died during surgery. It was that I didn't see anything, and I don't remember anything. Maybe that's just the way that the brain works, and kind of shuts things off for you as a safety mechanism. But honestly, was hoping to have at least seen some sort of bright light, or some of my loved ones who had passed before, at least some sort of concrete evidence to help answer that ultimate question of what happens after we go. And ever since then, thankfully I've had very good health throughout my entire life, but there's been times where I've had a few procedures here and there, but I always opted against having to be put under. As much as the doctors recommended against that, well, I listened to my own stubborn self. I remember getting my wisdom teeth pulled out, and actually it was not that long ago. Still have my top 2 teeth and no cavities, very proud of. But my bottom 2 wisdom teeth needed to come out because they were coming at an angle and starting to create some pain. And even though I shared with the dentist at our initial visit that I was not going to be put under, he was shocked and I guess didn't believe me when it came to the actual day of the procedure. So I ended up having a very odd experience of watching the dentist actually take out my wisdom teeth. And it certainly was interesting. They shot me up with Novocaine and stuff, and I could feel everything that they were doing. It just didn't necessarily hurt. But having them in your mouth with a pair of pliers and actually feeling your lower jaw shift, it's interesting. And then most recently, a couple years ago, I had a procedure done, and I again refused to get put under, and instead opted for the wonderful spinal tap. And if you've ever had a spinal tap, I will tell you this: don't get one. Not only was it pretty painful to actually have done, but the aftermath, I ended up getting, I forgot what they call it, but just having these immense and intense headaches for days after, and not something I would want to relive through. But anyway, I progress. Let's fast forward a little bit again to the colonoscopy. Don't worry, my story is nearing the end, pun intended. And the doctor would not give me the option to not be put under, so I had no other choice. Besides having it in my mind, the fun prep work the day before, I had to mentally get ready for actually being put under for the first time in quite some time. But I mustered up the courage, and I used the strength of my wife and our unborn child to find that power within and overcome that fear that's been lingering for quite some time. And as they got me prepped and we went into the room, They were playing music overhead as they often do in operating rooms. Not just something you see on TV. But after one song played and they were about to put the mask on me and knock me out, one song came on. And that song was Mr. Blue Sky. If you're not familiar with it, check it out. It's definitely a fun little ditty. That song meant a lot to me because Noor had shared with me, and she hadn't shared this with me right away. It was actually probably just probably a year or so before this time. But she shared with me that when we first started dating, this is a song that she played very, very often, given everything that she had lived through recently. And it was a song that meant a lot to her and certainly meant a lot at the time of our relationship and when things were looking up for both of us in our love lives. And in that moment, I had this calm and peace come over me, and I felt like Noor was in the room right there with me holding my hand. It made me calm down, and everything just felt fine after that. Went to sleep. Next thing I know, I woke up, and I was still alive. Still don't remember anything, but I also didn't almost die this time. Just took a nice little nap. But there's definitely times where we need to hear music when we're feeling down. There's times where we need to hear music to get ourselves pumped up. And there's time where we just want to hear music because we're feeling good. Everything has a time and a place. Hopefully we're listening to more music. These days I'm listening to songs and hearing both the music and the positive words because I am forever thankful for the life I have and the wonderful people that surround me. Do you have any songs that you're thankful for? Leave a comment below. Tell me what song you love and what it means to you. Or maybe share what was going on in your life at the time that it meant so much to you. And it means something different to you now, or impact you in a different way. I'd love to hear that too. As always, if you don't want to share with me, I encourage you to share with a loved one, a friend, a stranger, or just maybe to yourself. Whether you say it out loud or write it down in a journal, make sure you always find something to be thankful for. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it. Time is not something that we get back, so you listening to me talk really means a lot. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll catch you next week.